I woke up before my alarm clock rang. It's my usual habit. At 6 in the morning, a refreshing breeze passes through the bedroom window from the still dim May sky. By my pillow lies the Bible I was reading late last night. My nightly prayers had become my spiritual anchor in these busy days. When I got out of bed, Chris, who should have been sleeping next to me, wasn't there. He must have worked late again. Such mornings had become more frequent lately. The white linen sheets showed no trace of my husband having slept there. Heading down to the kitchen, I first put whole wheat bread in the toaster and switched on the coffee maker. Meanwhile, I took ingredients from the refrigerator and started preparing Michael's lunch. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich, apple slices, carrot sticks. As I packed our son's favorites, my thoughts wandered to the empty master bedroom. In the early days of our marriage, we always made pancakes together on weekends. The morning sun gradually brightens the kitchen. Light streams across the newly renovated marble countertop, creating a warm atmosphere. But lately, I've been cooking alone more often in this spacious kitchen. Mom, good morning. Michael's cheerful voice echoes from upstairs. Our 7-year-old son comes bounding down the stairs with his usual smile, unaware of my concerns. He's wearing blue and white striped pajamas, clutching his favorite baseball glove. Good morning, Michael. Come down slowly. Despite my cautionary words, a smile naturally spreads across my face. With this child around, any anxiety seems to vanish. Our precious gift, received in our 10th year of marriage. The 7 years since Michael's birth had truly been our golden age. The living room walls are lined with photos documenting Michael's growth. Pictures of him as a newborn, his first birthday, the three of us in front of the Christmas tree. And the most recent family photo, taken this spring. Back then, we must have still looked like a real family. After breakfast, I drive Michael to Oak Hill Middle School. Before getting out of the car, he always gives me a hug. His small arms wrap around my neck, carrying a faint scent of baby powder. As I hand him his lunchbox, I study his profile. Everyone says he has Chris's gentle eyes, but his smile resembles mine. Do you have baseball practice today? Yes. I'll do my homework at Grandma Betty's house after school, then go to practice. I'm going to finish the dinosaur Lego I started yesterday. My son's eyes sparkle with excitement. The dinosaur he's building with Lego blocks is Michael's current favorite. Betty always smiles warmly whenever she hears about it. Betty Johnson, our next-door neighbor, has been taking wonderful care of Michael since losing her husband. As a former elementary school teacher, she's been an invaluable support for me as a working mother. We often go to church together on Sundays and share brunch after the service. Say hello to Betty for me. Make sure you finish your homework before playing. I know, Mom. After seeing my son off, I head to the real estate office. Dressed in my new suit, I put on my sales manager face. Today should be another fulfilling day, at least, that's what I wanted to believe. But lately, I'd been sensing something off about our home life. Chris coming home late at night. My husband working more weekends, spending less time with family. I understand he's busy as the construction company's CEO. But I feel like we're gradually losing the warm family gatherings we used to have. Pizza nights on Fridays have become rare, maybe once a month if we're lucky. Weekend barbecues had become a distant memory. When I pray at church, I always ask for our family bonds to be protected. But recently, Even these prayers have been tinged with anxiety. And that sense of unease reached its peak on the night before my 3-day business trip. I've asked Betty to look after Michael while I'm away, just like usual. I tell Chris, who sits on the living room sofa, staring at his smartphone. The family photo above the fireplace looks down on us quietly. With that curt reply, my husband stands up. His tall figure casts a long shadow in the twilight room. I've got business meetings in Chicago tomorrow too. I'll be back in 3 days. Something about those words bothered me. But at the time, I couldn't pinpoint what it was. I just felt a small seed of anxiety taking root in my chest. The white sofa where we discussed raising our child. This room where we'd shared the joy of Michael's first steps. Despite being filled with memories, it now feels strangely cold. The next morning. As I left earlier than usual, Michael waved goodbye enthusiastically. While riding in the taxi to the airport, I kept thinking. If I could make this business trip successful, surely we could spend more time as a family. We could definitely turn things around for the better. With such hope in my heart, I left behind the Boston streets gleaming in the morning sun. The business negotiations were more successful than expected. Mrs. Wilson, that was an excellent presentation. Especially your proposals emphasizing environmental considerations and community contributions, exactly what we were looking for. Across the heavy wooden conference table, the client's smile beamed. In just 3 days, I'd secured our largest project yet. With this achievement, a promotion seemed within reach. Then we could have more family time. I'm looking forward to our future developments. We'll discuss the contract details next week. In the sunlit conference room, the client's executive firmly shook my hand. My heart swelled with joy and relief. In the car heading to the airport, I was already thinking about souvenirs for Michael. I hoped I could find a dinosaur figure he'd like at the airport. With a smooth flight, I should have been home by 8 a.m. I might even be able to give Michael good news before sending him off to school. That's what I thought until the announcement came. We sincerely apologize. Due to adverse weather conditions, there will be a flight delay. Looking out the window, I saw gloomy gray clouds spreading across the sky. I took out my phone and gazed at Michael's photo. My son smiling broadly in his baseball practice uniform. Encouraged by that smile, I let out a deep sigh. I'd already sent Betty an email first thing in the morning. In the airport lounge, I kept checking the time repeatedly. The departure times on the electronic board changed one after another. The surrounding passengers grew increasingly irritated. By the time we finally boarded, we were already 3 hours behind schedule. While checking work emails on the plane, my phone battery rapidly depleted. Just before landing, the screen went dark. The charger's in my suitcase. When I got into a taxi from the airport, it was already past 4 p.m. After I told the driver my address, he nodded silently. Through the car window, I watched the peaceful suburban landscape float by in the pre-twilight hours. The maple-lined street. Children racing past on bicycles. Someone watering flowers in their garden. Then the familiar church steeple came into view. Almost home. Michael must be doing his homework at Betty's house. What? When the taxi turned the corner, my spine froze. 2 police cars in front of my house. White and blue lights flashing ominously in the still bright afternoon air. A crowd of people gathered around. What appeared to be reporters with cameras. Neighborhood housewives clustered together with worried expressions. "This is fine here." I could hear my voice trembling. I got out of the taxi mid-route and hurried toward the house. The usually unremarkable asphalt slope now felt unusually long. The wheels of my suitcase rattled against the ground. People's gazes converged on me. Some faces I recognized. Mothers I meet at PTA, neighbors I see at church. But no one tried to speak to me. "Amy." I turned around to see Sarah from across the street running toward me. Her usually bright expression showed tension I'd never seen before. The sympathy in her eyes heightened my anxiety even more. "What happened? Michael? Is Michael safe?" My voice rose higher. My questions became incoherent. The police car lights cast an ominous blue glow. Two uniformed officers discussed something in front of the entrance. I could see guns at their sides. Yellow tape surrounded my house. At that moment, I felt all the blood drain from my body. Michael. Where was my son? He should be at Betty's house. But why were the police here? Why all this commotion? My heart pounded like a drum roll. The smile I'd seen on my son's face before leaving for my business trip flashed back in my mind. Forcing my trembling legs to move, I rushed toward the officers. "I live here, where's my son? Where is my son?" One officer exchanged glances with another. Their expressions carried an indescribable weight. A senior officer, seemingly a veteran, stepped forward. "My son must be inside." My scream carried a desperation that didn't seem like my own voice. My suitcase fell and rolled at my feet. My makeup must be ruined, but I didn't have the luxury to care about such things. "Ma'am, please stay calm and listen carefully." The officer's low voice resonated. At that moment, the front door opened. A strong smell of gasoline cut through the twilight air. My feet naturally moved toward the entrance. The hallway leading to the living room. The space that should normally be wrapped in warm light was now dominated by an eerie darkness. The entrance mat was torn, and the vase lay shattered. On the wall, something was written in red letters. It looked like it had been written with lipstick. The distorted letters seemed to glare at me. "You don't deserve to be happy." My eyes fixed on the torn family photo. A picture taken at Christmas. Michael beaming widely, Chris and I embracing our son. Now it was ripped to shreds. On the floor, Michael's baseball glove lay ruthlessly trampled. I ran through our ransacked home, calling out my son's name repeatedly. Up and down the stairs, checking closets, bathrooms, the basement. But my son was nowhere to be found. Furniture was overturned, drawer contents scattered across the floor, terrifying words written all over the walls. All of it amplified my anxiety. The senior officer gently grabbed my arm as I was losing my composure. His kind expression, flecked with gray hair, gave me a slight sense of security. "Mrs. Wilson, please calm down. Your son is safe. He was at Mrs. Johnson's house next door as usual. A protective services officer is going to pick him up now." The moment I heard those words, my knees gave out. The officer supported me as I nearly collapsed to the floor. My suitcase rolled over, its contents scattering. But none of that mattered anymore. Thank goodness, thank goodness. Tears flowed uncontrollably. My makeup ruined, my suit wrinkled. Sobs escaped my throat. Outside the window, the twilight light gently illuminated the residential area. Usually a comforting sight, it now felt strangely surreal. People still remained in front of the house. Worried voices could be heard in fragments. Seated on the living room sofa, the officers began explaining the situation. The incident occurred around 4 p.m. A suspicious woman was seen breaking into my house and spreading gasoline, witnessed by a neighbor. Mrs. White from across the street found it suspicious and reported it immediately. Sarah, the neighbor who always exchanges warm greetings with me. Someone I see every Sunday at church. Her quick thinking might have prevented the worst. The perpetrator was caught in the act. She had spread gasoline inside and possessed a lighter. If we'd been a few minutes later. The officer's words trailed off. A chill ran down my spine. Arson. To think someone tried to burn down my house. If the fire had actually been set, it could have affected not just our house but the whole neighborhood. At that moment, I sensed people approaching from the garden. Long shadows stretched across the twilight garden. Amy. Betty's voice. Behind the elderly woman approaching with steady steps, a small figure darted out. It was Michael. He ran toward me still in his school uniform. His profile looked unchanged, as if nothing had happened. I stood up and embraced my son. Warm body temperature, faint baby powder scent. The sure beating of life. Large brown eyes showed traces of anxiety. His small body trembled slightly in my arms. Mom, is the house all messed up? What about my Lego? My baseball glove? It's okay, we can fix everything. I'm just so glad you're safe, so very glad. I tightened my arms around my son. Michael's uniform carried the familiar after-school scent. Betty explained the situation. As usual, Michael had been doing his homework at her house after school. Though she noticed something was wrong when she heard the police sirens while gardening, she tried to act normal so Michael wouldn't worry. He was doing his math homework while drinking lemonade, Betty said. Her voice had a slight tremor. Amy, I need to apologize too, Betty said apologetically. I tried calling your cell phone several times. My phone battery. I'm so sorry. Betty shook her head. You have nothing to apologize for. More importantly. At that moment, one of the uniformed officers approached what appeared to be the chief, whispering something. Though I couldn't hear the words, I saw the chief's expression momentarily tighten. As dusk approached, forensics work continued around the house. The sound of photos being taken, notes being written. An unreal scene quietly unfolding before my eyes. Mrs. Wilson, there's something we need to tell you. Still holding Michael's hand, I turned toward the chief. My heart raced at the sympathy in his eyes. About the arrested woman. Rachel Morrison was apparently your husband's former secretary. In that instant, all the irregularities connected like a single thread. The reason for Chris's late returns. Increased weekend work. The lie about the Chicago trip. And Rachel Morrison. In my memory, vague discomfort took shape. According to her statement during questioning. The chief carefully chose his words. The suspect Morrison appears to have been in an intimate relationship with your husband. She claimed she was promised marriage, but... Betty placed her hand on my shoulder. I felt its warm weight. Michael wore a puzzled expression, not understanding the adults' conversation. His innocent face made my heart clench. Recently, your husband apparently went back on his promise. She became mentally cornered by this. My mind went blank. My ears rang. 10 years of married life. Days I thought were happy. A husband I believed loved me. Had it all been a castle built on sand? Memories shattered like glass. Rachel targeted your absence. The chief's explanation continued. But my heart had already lost the capacity to process his words. The threatening words left on the wall now held a different meaning. One thing remained certain. The warmth of the small life still holding my hand. My trembling fingers gripped Michael's hand more tightly. Mom, I'm hungry. Michael's innocent voice brought me back to myself. I gently stroked my son's head. Tears welled in my eyes. But I couldn't cry now, not in front of this child. Yes, let's stay at Betty's house. Until our house is cleaned up. Betty quietly nodded. Her gentle smile made me feel saved. The officers said they still needed to process the crime scene. Forensics would come in tomorrow. Taking evidence photos, collecting fingerprints, conducting interviews. A series of investigation procedures would be carried out methodically. Ma'am, according to testimony from your husband's associates. A young officer carefully continued. Morrison had shown signs of mental instability before. There was also unauthorized use of company funds. That's enough, the chief stopped his subordinate. We'll discuss the details later. For now, focus on your child. I nodded silently. The officer's voice seemed to come from far away. A series of events that felt unreal. But the reality before me was certain. Our ransacked home. The ruthlessly torn family photo. And my husband's betrayal. It would take time to understand everything. But for now, I only needed to think about one thing. That my precious son was safe. Holding Michael's hand tightly, I looked up at the twilight sky. 2 days after the incident, I received a call from the police. In Betty's living room shrouded in morning mist, I gripped the receiver. We've learned the detailed circumstances. The chief's voice carried an unavoidable weight. I took a deep breath, calming my heart. In the next room, Michael was having breakfast with Betty. His innocent laughter carried through the hallway. The sound of cereal bowls clinking. My son's voice saying, "Time to eat." An ordinary morning scene that now felt painfully poignant. Please continue. The sound of papers shuffling came from the other end of the phone. The truth was more cruel than I had imagined. Chris and Rachel's relationship had begun more than a year ago, right after she joined as his secretary. Expensive restaurants, weekend hot spring trips, brand name accessories. Manhattan hotels, champagne, pearl necklaces. All processed as company expenses. The amount of embezzled funds well exceeded tens of thousands of dollars. The company money that should have been saved for our family had been spent on trysts with his mistress. We made contact with your husband yesterday. My hands trembled. This would normally be the time I'd be making coffee. But now, I didn't even have that luxury. He was in Florida, not Chicago. He was supposed to be with Rachel. But he ran away alone, leaving her behind. The marriage promise, words of love, all lies. After promising to start a new life together, he ended up betraying her too. According to Morrison's testimony, she was told everything last weekend. Your husband said he would end their relationship and return to you. However, that was just an excuse. Chris had abandoned her and planned to flee with the company's money. A substantial amount had already been transferred to a bank account in Miami. She was mentally cornered and decided on revenge. The chief's voice continued. Rachel had tried to burn down my house to hurt Chris. But the one who would have truly been hurt was an innocent child. Was the ruthless destruction of Michael's room an expression of her twisted love? That night, we had an unexpected visitor. Amy, Betty said softly. Chris is here. I caught my breath. Through the parlor window, I could see my husband. His usual neat navy suit. But his expression showed an unfamiliar coldness. Perhaps just back from Florida, his slightly tanned skin was illuminated by the indoor lighting. Where's Michael? Sleeping upstairs. Betty nodded and showed my husband into the parlor. We need to talk. A thick silence fell between us across the table. The space that should have been filled with love was now dominated by cold tension. The house repairs will be covered by insurance. As for the company, I have my own thoughts. Your thoughts? My voice rose involuntarily. You used company money with Rachel. She has nothing to do with this. Chris interrupted. His voice held a hint of panic. His usually composed expression gradually crumbled. Nothing to do with it. She destroyed our child's room. Made a mess of all Michael's precious things. That's why we have insurance. Chris's voice rang coldly. Things can all be replaced. With those words, something broke decisively within me. Was this man before me really the one I once loved? The one who promised eternal love in church, with that gentle smile? Chris, you don't understand, I stated quietly but firmly. There are things insurance can't fix. Like trust, promises, family bonds. Don't get sentimental, my husband stood up irritably. I have my side of. Sit down. My voice rang ice cold. We're not finished talking. Surprisingly, Chris sat back down quietly. In that gesture, I thought I saw a shadow of my former husband. I know exactly how much you embezzled. All the hotel receipts with Rachel, the accessory bills, everything. The blood drained from my husband's face. His profile in the moonlight looked pale. The company's shareholders have already agreed. You'll lose all management rights. That's the board's unanimous decision. Amy, there's room for discussion. And this. I handed him the divorce papers. I've consulted with lawyers about everything. Custody, child support, division of assets. Wait, Chris's voice trembled. Let me see Michael. I have the right to see my son at least. Rights? I smiled sadly. Did you see how our child's room was destroyed? What words Rachel wrote on the walls? How his treasures were trampled? Chris fell silent. In his moonlit profile, I saw no sign of regret. That child still believes in his papa. But someday he'll understand what kind of person his father really was. I stood up. The lawyer will contact you tomorrow. Please handle all procedures through the lawyer. Chris's departing back looked strangely small. The back that once seemed so reliable. But now it was just the back of a coward. The sound of the front door closing shook the quiet night air. That night, I had made my decision. The talk of promotion, the new house, all would start tomorrow. For now, I could only watch my son's sleeping face. Michael slept quietly in the guest room of Betty's house. Lego blocks scattered on the floor. His small body clutching the baseball glove. Tomorrow would begin a new life for us, mother and son. Outside the window, the full moon shone quietly. Half a year has passed since then. Soft autumn sunlight streams through the windows of our new house. 3 corners down from Maple Street. A 5-minute walk from Betty's house. A cozy single-family home with white walls and black window frames. When we moved in, Michael smiled and said, "Mom, this house is cute." Sunday morning. The scent of pancakes wafts from the kitchen. Betty's recipe. As I open the maple syrup bottle, I listen to my son's voice. Home run. The sound of a baseball being hit comes from the backyard. A small baseball field the neighbors helped create as a housewarming gift. Michael always practices there on weekend mornings. Michael, breakfast. At my call, my son comes running in. His forehead glistening with sweat, t-shirt dirty with soil. But his smile seems to shine brighter than before. "Mom, we'll see Grandma Betty at church today, right?" "Yes, that's right." Our weekly Sunday worship has become the backbone of our new life. The Grace Episcopal Church community warmly embraced us after the incident. Prayers at church gradually heal the wounds in our hearts. The pastor taught us that God never gives us trials we cannot overcome. Those words have saved me many times. Changes came at work too. Managing the construction company went better than expected. Earning the trust of employees, new projects kept coming in. Next month, we'll begin developing a new environmentally conscious residential area. "Amy, your judgment was right." An elderly executive told me so at the board meeting. One by one, we clear away the negative legacy Chris left behind. It hasn't been an easy journey, but I feel a definite response. After the incident, I learned many things. What true strength is. What family bonds are. And the importance of community. Betty remains an unwavering support. "Amy, you're a strong mother," she always encourages me. She still helps with Michael's homework, still bakes cookies with him on holidays, all unchanged. And finally, the case reached its conclusion. Rachel received a 5-year prison sentence for attempted arson and breaking and entering. The psychiatric evaluation determined she had full criminal responsibility. In court, she accepted the verdict quietly, without losing composure. As for Chris, he received a suspended sentence for embezzlement. Having lost both company and family, rumors occasionally reach my ears that he's living on the West Coast now. "Mom, when is Dad coming home?" Michael doesn't ask such questions anymore. With guidance from the counselor, I've explained the situation to my son gradually but honestly. Much of it may still be beyond his 7-year-old heart to understand. But he's accepting it in his own way. Life in our new house has restored our peace. On weekends, neighborhood children gather to play baseball in the backyard. Michael has made new friends at the church Sunday school. "Mom, I got another perfect score." My son's face showing me his math test glows in the sunset light. The anxious expression from before is no longer seen. Through the kitchen window, I can see the maple trees turning red. Seasons change, time flows. But the precious things in our hearts haven't changed at all. Yes, this is not an ending story. It's a story of new beginnings. The beginning of our new life, supported by faith, hope, and above all, love.